Hi everyone, welcome to Paranormal Discovery. My guest today is Julie Finn. Julie is an investigator with Paranormal New England. She actually investigates with me. She's been in some of my videos and I'm sure you're going to see her in a lot more. When I opened up to the whole mediumship, spiritualist thing, Julie was one of the first people who was a part of that. There was an event that took place and she was there for that. So I thought it might be nice to kind of have her come in and we could sit and chat and carry on a conversation about that. I know she has a lot of questions that she may want to ask me, and hopefully it'll help give everyone here a greater understanding of what actually happened and led to my awakening.
I do have many questions, Scott. The first one is, I only have a few facts that you've told me about David. So I'm hoping that you and I could talk and you could basically go into more detail on what exactly happened that night when David first came along and introduced himself to you.
So until this particular day and this particular event, I had never heard of David. I didn't know who David was. I didn't know that there was a David because I don't know anyone by the name of David. But one day I had left work and I have a person that was working here at the time, and she sent me a text message and she said, "Oh, I just wanted to let you know that David stopped by." And my question was, David who? And he didn't leave a number. He didn't leave a last name. So I went on the camera, the security camera, to see if I could find out who it was. And as it turns out, I had never seen this man before in my life. Now, this is a hair salon, so he did not need a haircut. He was bald as a cucumber. He was tall. He didn't mention anything about a wife or a girlfriend that he wanted to get a gift card for. He didn't mention anything about products. He wasn't looking for anything for anyone. He just asked for me and then said, "Tell him David stopped by." And I don't know a David. And he never came back and he never called. That was back in the early part of this year. So you and I had dinner that night, and I was
did.
At the time I wasn't thinking anything paranormal. I wasn't thinking anything about mediumship, but I was really kind of wondering who this person was and why I was supposed to know him on a first name basis. I had never seen him before. And so when we got to dinner, I showed you that video of him. I copied it from the security camera and was hoping you might be able to have a feeling on it. Because Julie's a psychic empath, and some of you may know that, some of you may not. But she can feel things. And so I wanted to get your impression on that. And so that's how it started. That was the first step.
Right, and I remember that night, and I do remember attempting to open myself up to see if I could feel anything at all from David. And there was just nothing that I could feel from the video that you had showed me.
Right.
It was so odd. At that point, it did not seem odd because we had no idea of the events that would transpire over the next few months. So I remember we talked about it, and it was just, well, that's just kind of strange, and I just don't know a David, but, you know, these things will happen. But David became more pronounced in your life over the next few weeks.
He did.
So do you remember exactly when was the next time that you heard the name David, and in what context?
I'm trying to remember what the next occasion was. I had bought a spirit box, which, for those of you who don't know, a spirit box is it's like a radio, and it scans channels. And if there's a spirit that wants to talk with you, it can manipulate that frequency somehow and leave messages through that spirit box. And I started getting messages. People were singing, people were saying my name, they were whistling, they were quite vocal. I wanted to create what we call a portal, which basically is the spirit box, but we add a guitar speaker to it and a couple of guitar amps so that we can have a noise reduction pedal and a reverb. And I was putting all the pieces together at home, and that was the day that I heard someone say, "I want to talk to Scott." Would it be possible?
Talk to Scott.
I'm Scott. I'm Scott. What is your name? I'm Scott. Huh? Same thing we heard here at work on the camera. But this was a voice coming through the portal. "I want to talk to Scott." And I said, "This is Scott. Who's this?" And they said, "It's David." And that's when things started to really steamroll. I didn't know really anything about this. My house isn't haunted, so I didn't even know why I was getting responses at home. By all rights, I should have had no activity in there whatsoever. I was really just turning the buttons to see if I could get them to work and make sure everything was plugged in correctly. But David made his appearance that day and then started showing up every time I turned on the portal. He would, or other people would come through, and I've got some clips I'm going to play here for you, but there were other people that would come through as well and say, "David's back, David's here," and it was constant. Can you tell me your name?
It's back. I do remember that, and I do remember that it was constant, and at one point it became very concerning.
Well, you don't know if you're having some kind of a spirit attachment, because we do go, a paranormal investigation. So have I had a spirit attachment?
Right.
In fact, it was so strange because I have friends that run another YouTube channel. It's called Grit Paranormal. They were in Rhode Island on an investigation, and they had just gotten a portal. So they went on Facebook Live. They wanted to see how that was going to work. And I was watching from my home here, which is a couple of hours away probably.
Right.
And they're playing and out through the box, "I want to talk to Scott." And they didn't know about David really, and they said, "Oh, Scott's not here tonight. What's your name?" And he said, "It's David."
But if you remember, Grit Paranormal was here in this building before that took place.
That's true.
Grit Paranormal came to do a guest investigation here,
Right.
with Paranormal New England.
Right.
And so that leads me to believe David obviously has intelligence, obviously has a consciousness as to what's happening, because David knew Grit Paranormal enough to reach out to them.
Right, he knew there was a connection there somehow.
Yes, which is just, when you start to put that
really
together,
intelligent.
Absolutely intelligent, yes.
But that's when I was, at that point, after weeks and weeks and weeks of hearing David over and over and over everywhere I went, there were references to David and David talking to me. I said, I need to call somebody and figure out. I mean, I didn't know what was going on.
I remember
it was a little scary.
You were very concerned.
Yeah, it was scary.
You were terribly concerned, I remember. And I think you reached out to a team member.
I did. And she's a psychic medium.
Yes.
Her name is Janelle. I reached out to her and because I wanted to see if she could get a sense of it.
Right.
I really wasn't getting any answers from, I don't know who could give me answers, but it was just, what do I do? So I reached out to her, and she immediately said, that she could sense him, and she said, "David is stuck,
right,
and he's contacting me because she knew I could talk with him." And I said, "Well, why me? I have the portal, right? So
right. But why me?" Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Let's just go back a little bit. Has anything like this before David ever happened to you?
Not to this extent.
Right.
Where I used to work before, it was a new building, and it was built on property where there was a huge mansion, not unlike the S.K. Pierce mansion that we've been to. Right. It was a big mansion like that. It had burnt down in a fire. The building was built on top of that land many, many, many years later.
Right.
And so when I was there, I could hear people going up the stairs and down the stairs and walking across the floorboards upstairs if I was down. So that happened, but I just thought, okay, that's just some kind of a residual haunt of some sort. Really didn't interact with me in any way, shape, or form.
Right. So or this time, so I'm sorry to interrupt you, but at this time in your life, you were not doing paranormal investigating.
I was not.
At all. Were you even familiar with the term residual haunt? So you didn't know what
probably
was
not
going
at
on.
that
probably
time.
Not.
You know, as I'm thinking about it now, I don't think I probably even knew what that was.
So I think, like most people, you would just chalk it up to the build. So what? It's a new building. It's creaking.
No, I really thought it was haunted. I did.
Okay.
It was too much, and it was too consistent.
So your intuition kicked in at that point.
I suppose, but I mean, I almost... My secretary, who had no intuition at all, also felt it was haunted.
Okay.
And she would come in at night, and she'd hear things walking around upstairs. So that was, you know, that was something else.
Right.
The first indication of anything, even remotely along these lines, was I remember sitting there one day, I was going like this, and then I could feel my hands. I could feel the energy between my hands, and I could create a ball. And at first I had to work on it, right? I was like, oh, I gotta really get it. You know, and now, you know, I could go like this, and boom, there it is. In fact, it's off, it's on. You know what I mean? You can turn it on and off very quickly.
Yes.
But I didn't know what that was. And I remember there was a woman working for me, and I said, hey, check this out. Can you do that? And she thought I was out of my mind, because she couldn't.
Right.
So that was an indication, and that had to be 20, 25 years ago, that there was something going on that was not, I don't like to use the word normal, but it wasn't what I was used to, or something that I was
elevated senses.
It was something.
Which is like what I like to think of it as. I think that on the basic level, everyone is born being able to do these things, but we lose them over time.
Right.
But some people, they keep that, and that sense is elevated. Your sense, which is different as a medium, than my sense as an empath, which is different. I think some of us are able to keep a little bit of what we've been born with.
Right.
And so you've now been nurturing that.
But you know what's interesting, you know, so if you watch some of these psychic mediums on TV, or, you know, they'll say, oh, it started when I was just a kid. I remember being 4 or 5, and I would see a person standing at the edge of the bed. That is not my experience. Right. I mean, I was dead to it my whole life. And even to this day, it's so much more subtle than what you think. You know, it's not that there are dead people everywhere. You know?
Do you consciously open yourself up to it?
I have to consciously open up to it, and even then, it starts out not with seeing them. It starts out with feeling that they're there. Like, I can feel changes around me. I can feel energy levels go up. I can feel this. I can hear in my ears this hissing, almost like an energy. And then, if they want, they'll oftentimes present themselves to me, but it's in my mind's eye, and I know that's so hard to explain for someone who doesn't get that, but you can see them, and I can describe them. And I've done readings with people where I've described people to a T, and I don't know that I necessarily get hung up on that. I think that they can maybe present themselves any way they want, but I'm starting to recognize, and you know, this could have been something that happened to me for years, and I just chalked it up to imagination, too much coffee.
Or we're busy in our lives.
And you don't think about it.
You've actually had a life change. Yeah. You gave up one career, you've started a new career. Right. You've decided, I've always been interested in paranormal investigation. Let's just call it what it is. It's ghost hunting. This is what we, this is what we say. You've always been interested in it, and you've decided that, this new chapter in your life, along with the new career, is also going to be something that you've always been interested in, and that's to ghost hunt. So, do you think it's because at this point in your life, your mind is just so much more open to new experiences, and to the intuition that the new experiences will bring to you?
I don't know. That's such a good question. And maybe, but I don't remember ever having any kind of real abilities. And if I blocked it, I don't think I was blocking it intentionally. I think I've always actually been interested in it. So I don't really know what the answer is.
Yeah, yeah. So I think time will tell, actually.
Time will tell.
Yeah. Very interesting. So let's go back to David for a minute, because it intrigues me. There's so many coincidences in it. The person coming in was into the salon saying, not asking for David, but saying, tell him David was here.
Yeah, he was David. Tell him David was here.
Tell him David was here, as if you would know a David, which in and of itself is not a big thing.
No.
But then suddenly you're getting the name David through the portal. Everywhere. Not only are you getting the name David through the portal, but we as a team invited the Grit team up to investigate the building. And they went back to Rhode Island, and there was David asking for Scott on their portal.
It's just crazy. And that's why I was so concerned. It was, at first it was kind of, well, this is interesting, this is funny, you know what I mean? It's
right.
But after, weeks and weeks and weeks of it, you start to feel like, all right, this is not normal.
Right.
It's not normal. There is some kind of spirit. Matter of fact, I think when I called Janelle, I'd left her a message and I said, listen, I don't know what to do. I have this spirit after me. And as I think in hindsight, it sounds kind of crazy, but I didn't know how else to describe it.
Right.
It really felt that way.
Right, which is a scary feeling.
Yeah.
Really, especially if you don't know what's going on. And you haven't been you haven't been delving into the paranormal for very long, actually, and this happens.
Right.
So I can imagine how frightening it is.
Yeah, it was just so strange.
Yeah. And so the outcome is that David sensed that you could help him cross over. And in the end,
he could help me open up. And I think that's why he still comes around. And he, so Janelle had sort of like focused in on him, and he said he would continue to look over me.
And he does to this day.
And he does. And we were in Vermont at Wilson Castle, and it is on one of my videos, the Wilson Castle video. He said he was David. I'm David. And somebody said, do you watch over Scott? And he said, absolutely, recently.
Wow.
That's pretty
extraordinary, and in and of itself, I would think, kind of comforting in a way.
The woman that I work with, her name is Joy. She's the shaman, and she's the psychic healer. And she said to me, it is very, very, very rare that we build that kind of a relationship with a spirit entity. They just don't come back over and over and over again.
Right.
So it's just a little strange to me, but it's constant.
It's constant, which it's rare, but apparently it's happening with you.
Yeah.
Do you, at any point, especially now, is there any fear that perhaps David has an ulterior motive?
I don't know what that could be. I mean, I suppose, he seems sort of
benign.
He just sort of says, I'm David, I'm here kind of thing. There's not, he's not clouding my thoughts all the time. I'm not sitting here focusing, oh, there's David, It's not that kind of thing. It's just, when that portal comes on, he comes through.
So, people talk about spirit guides.
Right.
Now, I'm not familiar at all with the concept of spirit guides, the rules and regulations, if there are any, of spirit guides. So, I don't know. Is it possible he's your spirit guide?
It's so funny. I've wondered that. But I don't know, because he was crossed over, and
right.
You know what I mean? So that would go against what I thought I knew about.
The same with me. I thought that spirit guides were old souls that had been around, and basically they're there to guide you through this life as a medium, and to help protect you. So if you've just crossed David over, is it at all possible? Is it within the realm of possibility? I don't know, and I don't know from what I've heard.
Right. It's such a philosophical question, and I don't know. It is certainly something that I've thought of, and he's certainly acting like one.
Yes.
But,
right.
It's possible.
Anything, I think, let's face it, being paranormal investigators, I think something that we have found is that anything is possible.
And when you're a medium, you start having to believe in things that you never really thought were real either. I mean, Yes.
And I think also when you're an investigator, you start believing in things because as a fellow team member has said many times to me and to you, we all have agreed, how many coincidences does it take for it to not be a coincidence any longer?
Right.
And how many times have we now seen that in our work as paranormal investigators?
Well, and Julie, I mean, David has been coming around for at least 6 months, nonstop.
Right.
Every investigation, every time I turn on the portal, he's there.
Right.
He is never not there. I went to Rhode Island a couple of weeks ago, went out on that, the trip over to Nightman's Misery.
Yes.
There he was. He was at Wilston Castle. He was in New York with us.
Right.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, right. So there's so much that we don't know.
It's true.
There's so much that we have to learn. And I think that's why we do what we do.
Right.
Basically, as Fox Mulder said, the truth is out there, and we do hope to find it. Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of people have asked, how has this come about? So it's really great that we've been able to chat a little bit, share some of these clips, and let people know that there is something beyond this. And I don't always understand it. I can't tell you how it happens or why it happens, but it's there.
Right.
And all I can do is share it. So I hope that people have enjoyed this and have maybe a little bit of a better understanding.
And I think that people are grateful that you are willing to put yourself out there and say, this is what's happening to me, because I think there are a lot of people out there that it's happening to. They don't have anyone to talk to about this. Right. There's no one that they can give their truth to and allow that it's going to be trusted and it's going to be understood. So I think that you putting yourself out there is very brave of you, and I also think that it may help a lot of people understand what's going on.
Yeah, I think so. And if anybody feels like they have questions or they're having experiences they don't understand, they can reach out to me. I have a Facebook page. It's Psychic Medium Scott at Facebook, and you can go on and message me there. Or I'm also involved with Paranormal New England, and there, I believe it's investigations at paranormalnewengland.com. Is that correct?
That's it, exactly.
And they'll, if you're looking for someone to investigate, then we can do that.